awesome.
Miriam Steelbergley, aka Dr. Z, it is a pleasure to interview you today for this is the last edition of this newsletter for 2022. So you are the absolute last interview I have for this year. Congratulations. We're ending it off with a bang.
Thank you. I see it a little different. I see this as actually the first interview to start the next year. So,
I like that.
With a lot of positive messages and a lot of positive energy.
Yes, all positive. But, you know, this newsletter is all about growth. And you are an author. You're very accomplished in life. Who better to interview as the last person of 2022, starting into 2023? But I know you have a new book out, and I wanted to hit on that new book today because it's going to help a lot of people. And it's coming out very soon, isn't it?
It's coming out in January. It's my first book. And yeah, and the real goal of this book is to create awareness about mental health, is to empower people, is to reduce a stigma, and to help people to achieve, a better quality of life and joy and meaning and well-being.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, I want to hear about the book, and I think I want to, help people get interested in the book as well. So it helps people achieve a better life with more meaning. That is something I'm very passionate about, Dr. Z, because honestly, we shouldn't just exist. We should live, we should thrive. We should do things that we're passionate about, that are purposeful and meaningful to us. Tell me a little bit about your book. I want to get excited about it.
I want to say something that before we go directly to the book, and I want to say that the reason for the book, actually, it came like a magical moment in my life that saved my life, and that's why this book means so much for me, and I hope will mean so much for others, because it's a transparent book, it's a vulnerable book, it's a book full of love, full of sadness, full of, experiences, not only mine, but I had the luck to invite more than 30 individuals, from Buddhist monks to Wall Street people, from very famous TED talkers and journalists, to little boys like mine, sharing their experiences and how they are being able to grow after adversity and achieve their dreams and live their life in a meaningful way. So this book is a collective journey, not just my book. And I want to make it clear, because my idea is that whoever will touch that book will be part of that journey. Inside of those pages, because has an interactive approach, many opportunities to do exercises and introspective activities. And something that is different about this book, which I believe is kind of cool, at least for me, is that everybody will be able to read it in their own way. It doesn't have chapters in orders. So if you need today to learn about grief, you can go directly to grief and touch that one, because you may not care about love today. You need this one. And if you want to learn about success, and grief is not your issue today, so you will be able to jump through the book chapter by chapter without any enforcement to follow your, a linear way, because this is, again, the idea of cycles. Where are you in your life? This book will touch your life where you are right now.
I love that. And, before we started the recording, we started talking about how life is not linear. We think about it as linear, but you described it as cycles. And that's so true. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's important for people.
Yeah, I have been called resilient all my life.
Me too.
Yeah, and every time especially my students, my residents, I am a physician, an academic physician. I have been asked, like, how do you do it? And I never had a real answer. During COVID, I had more time to think about it, especially because I was going through a lot in many levels beyond COVID. I had also things happening in my personal life. And I was trying to find this perfect formula, right? How do I repeat this again now that I really did it? Like now it's very difficult for me. And part of my introspective journey was to find out what I am doing or what I did before that I can replicate. So I keep doing it. I can use it as advice to others. And what I discovered is that I don't live my life in a linear way uh, because that causes a lot of stress for me. And I believe that for anybody else, right? It's like if life is so linear, so everybody that you make a mistake, you cannot revert it. Every time that you want to jump into the pool, you are afraid that there will not be water, so you will not do it. So you are stopping yourself all the time or blaming yourself all the time. How much stress can you, collect during 50, 60, 90 years? Uh, so I believe that life for me has cycles, and I compare my life like with a video game where you have levels. Each of them is more complex, right? And requires for you to learn something in the level that came before. And you don't die in the first attempt in the level. It's like you have a lot of cards and opportunities, and you can come again and try the level again and again till you are the master of level 1, and then you can go to level 2. So I feel like that in my life. That's how I go through life. I don't just say I quit the end. I try again. So then I was asking, okay, what are the components of my cycle? Because every cycle has components. And I discovered that I start everything with goals. And I can see goals as some of them enforced by society. You have to go to college, you have to buy your first car, you need to driver's license, right? You need to have a kid at this time of your life. There are some goals that I don't call goals, I call dreams. The things that you really want with your heart, the things that you dream with since you were a girl or a boy, right? Those that don't depend on what your parents said, they are what you really want, which are for me the best ones, right? But you need to fulfill both, by the way, in life. And so then I thought, okay, what happened after I have my goal? I have my goal, and what happens? And what happens is that I need this fuel, right, for my soul. I need this energy. I need persistence. So that's my second G, which is grit, right? This persistence, this is, energy that will keep you going no matter what.
I
And
love
how
that.
do you finish that cycle? So in theory, the logical idea will be you finish it achieving your goal. But that's not true. Like it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes yes, right? You are lucky and it happens. Sometimes no. And so that means that you fail. And I don't think so, because what I discovered in my life is that so many times that I didn't get what I wanted, right? And I got my tantrums like everybody else. But I discovered months later or years later is that actually it was great that it didn't happen, right? But something different happened. And what happened really during that cycle is that I achieved new knowledge, new skills. Uh, I connected with other people. I became more vulnerable or stronger. And I was really preparing myself for the next level. So
Yes.
this idea of failing disappears when you don't get your goal, because goals may be targets that are moving. When you are 20, your goal is to have, I don't know, and you are a boy, the red car, right? A red Ferrari. Maybe when you are 40, the red Ferrari means nothing and you want to find a good wife and have wonderful kids and a home.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 Gs.
I love that. But no, I think you're absolutely right on target. And this year, I reframed failure in my mind to, at first, so many people, when they fail, they either give up or they say, well, I guess that just wasn't for me, maybe on to the next thing. But sometimes it's setting you up for all those skills or traits or knowledge that you need to go to that next level of that same goal, but you needed to fail in order to learn, in order to grow. And once you, I think, reframe failure in your mind,
Yeah.
it catapults you into a whole different level of what success actually means. And then you start to realize the destination is the journey.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And life is not as simple as just goal grid growth, right? And we have a lot of catalysts in our life, right? And some of them, as you were mentioned, there are some that will make your life a little more complex, right? And don't allow you to get to the end or the happy ending as soon as you want. And some of them are those that help you tremendously, right? And will, maybe because you already developed them, or maybe because by nature they came with you, you know, examples. An immigrant, right? I am the typical example of an immigrant. I came to this country late in my life to start from zero with a strong accent. And those could be all of them negative catalysts, right? I could be a victim because of that, and I could justify that I am not able to achieve any of my dreams. I cannot get my career again back, right? Because I have to train again for being a physician here, because I have these catalysts that are negative. What about if I use them on my favor? What about if yes, I am a physician, right, with a strong accent, Latin, and now I can be a good doctor for Latin population, and I can be a great example for any immigrant that comes with a dream and has a strong accent. So you really decide what you do with your catalyst. You can use them against you, or you can use them in your favor and in the favor of others. And I feel like this idea of having these cycles and having these catalysts as part of them allows you to be empowered. You stop being a victim. Things are not happening to you, right? You are not being blamed or punished by someone or something. You have the power to decide what do you want to do in your life. And I have this feeling that lately, probably the last decade, for some reason, and it's happening a lot in the medical field, and I can tell that it's happening a lot in general, we became victims. And everything is the system's fault, the politician's fault, the weather fault, my boss fault. And where are we? Like, what are we doing about it?
Yeah.
Uh, who said that a professional or a woman or a guy or whoever is, we are not disabled, emotionally disabled, right? And even emotionally disabled people has the right, to do the things that they want, and to have dreams, and to go for them. So how is that we decided to put ourselves in that situation where we are victims? I refuse to be a victim. I want to be a fighter.
I love that. And I believe that wholeheartedly. In our stories, we're either the victim or the victor, but we choose, right? So you can use things that are stacked against you as leverage to do something different, to do something greater, maybe. So absolutely, you're right. Your example of you coming in as an immigrant with a strong accent, you could have thought, this will stack against me in some kind of way, or you use that to fight even a little bit harder, to make yourself, distinct, maybe in a way, right? To set you apart. So these things that we have in our minds, again, are they really stacked against us, or are we using those things to go to that next level, to use it to climb those stairs, right? I think that's so important, because so many times we tend to project and think everything's outside of us, but a lot of times it's right here, don't you think?
I believe my dad used to tell me when I was a girl that nobody can hurt me except that I allow them. And that person that will hurt me the most is myself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I truly believe that. I truly
Absolutely.
believe that. If you are offended by someone and you decide to take it personal, which you should, right? I mean, it's an offense, it's an offense, right? But instead of advocating for what is right and what is correct and for being treated with respect, right? I'm not saying go and fight, but just in a professional way, advocate for what is right. Instead of that, you decide to go cry, feel miserable, you don't deserve this, now you hate your job, you are not good enough for this. You decided how you took that offense. You could advocate, you could go for it. Same thing with bystanders, and I have a big problem with bystanders. Those that do this, right? And it was not to me. That person is very, very nice with me, so he insulted you. It was not to me. So why I rather to be neutral here. No, you are not being neutral. You already took a position. Your position was to shut up, to do not advocate. So there is no neutral. So I believe that we don't live in neutral to others or to ourselves. We cannot be neutral. We decide a position for good or for bad. I am not who to judge, right? But we need to understand that not doing is already a decision. It's already an option.
Yeah, it's a decision, right? No decision is a decision.
Your decision is a decision. Yes, that's exactly. And we need to understand that. We need to understand how big that power is. I mean, we are powerful. Even when we decide not to do, we are deciding to do something. We are doing something.
Yeah.
So everything what we do in life or we don't do in life, we say or we don't say, has a consequence for us, for our loved ones, and sometimes depending of the level, right, where we are and the magnitude of our message or the lack of our message, we can be affecting our community or our country, our world. So we have a lot of power. We feel more comfortable saying, no, I am a victim. This is happening to me. I cannot make a change who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's comfortable to be a victim. It's
Yep.
never your fault, never your responsibility. You will blame everybody else.
Yep.
Nothing is because of you,
And
not even your failure.
You grow about that much.
I will say that you
Maybe less.
kind of, yes, less, much less for my. You shrink. I believe that you emotionally shrink because if you see kids, right, the amount of emotional intelligence that they may have, if you see them being so bold, right, when they say things and so direct and so clear, they will not cover, right, sugar cover anything. I feel like they sometimes are better than us in some circumstances. Being politically correct sometimes doesn't make us a big favor.
Right. Absolutely. Because we're not really expressing what we believe, what we stand for, our opinions. I love that. That is so empowering. It's for people that are perpetually victims, though. And I do think there's a lot of people out there, and honestly, Dr. Z, they don't realize it, right? Because it's really hard. If you're in that state, if you're trapped in that cycle of perpetual victimhood, you don't see it. And it becomes your comfort zone and becomes a pattern that you keep repeating. Do you have any advice for people to maybe how they can understand from an introspective maybe lens of how they can identify themselves as a victim and maybe break that pattern?
Yes, I want to mention, I love that you got to that point because you didn't read my book yet, but it looks like we are connected in some way.
Yeah.
And something that I mentioned, yes, it's very interesting that you were able to kind of create this idea. Yes, what I say in the book is that if you get in this cycle of, and never, you don't get your goal and you don't grow and you keep going around, what happens at some point is that you go to a level of chronic stress, burnout, depression, right? And sadly even suicide. So this chronic going around a cycle without any ending, right? Any type of ending really move you in the wrong direction. And that's why it's so important to identify what you were saying, right? I'm being a victim, or I am not growing through this, because the consequences will be really bad. And that's not surprise that today we have the levels of suicide. 46,000 of people die by suicide in this country every year. And the levels of burnout in the medical field around the 60%, and even in general, we are around the same number. So it's not just something that happens here and there. It's happening to all of us, right? So yes, we need to identify. I would say that for me, number one rule to break any negative cycle or enhance any positive cycle is self-awareness. And self-awareness is big part of the component of emotional intelligence, something that I am very embarrassed to say this, but I learned just a few years ago. This is something that they don't teach you in the school, and they don't teach you even in medical school, right? So I discovered it totally being an adult. I believe that we need to start teaching our kids about emotional intelligence and help them to develop this self-awareness. And we need to enhance this in college now, and in any other type of training. And this needs to be a conversation as workshops or whatever in different companies, jobs, and in the community, as you are doing it right now. We need to talk about self-awareness. It's I will say impossible to make changes in your life and in your behaviors and in your approaches if you are not able to identify where are your gaps.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to start where who I am, what is happening to me right now, what is right or wrong. And after you identify this, the goods and the bads and the middles, maybe, right? Then you will be able to create a plan. And this plan may have different colors and flavors. This could be just, oh, this is so easy. I was being not so nice with people. I will change a little the words that I use, and I will be more empathetic. And yes, I can do it. I didn't figure it out. Or, oh my goodness, I am very burnt out right now. I need to, reduce the amount of time that I am working, and I feel also depressed, or maybe I need to talk with a counselor or with a psychologist, or I am so bad that right now I'm thinking about suicide, or I need extra help, or I will go to a training or hear podcasts, or or start doing yoga and exercise. So you can have a rainbow of opportunities, but you will not know which one to pick if you don't start who I am, where I am in my life, what is missing, and what I have, because we need to also be proud of those things that we have, right? Those things that we were able to achieve, those things that came with our genes and are part of our personality.
Yeah.
We are not just empty. We are full with certain gaps here and there that we need to start filling.
I love that. It starts with self-awareness, but EQ, and this is proven, people that have generally higher EQs, so emotional intelligence, get paid more. They have higher salaries. They're more successful. They're promoted more frequently in their careers. So literally, this is something, if anybody that's listening to this is stuck in a negative pattern of those cycles and is adverse to investing in themselves because they think they're going to fail or they think something of that nature is going to happen, if you don't get those things checked by that third party perspective, by somebody with a 10,000-foot view of you and your problems, who can help you develop that, emotional intelligence, get out of those patterns, get out of those cycles, it's going to be a recurring theme, and you're not capturing that money that you could have just by being emotionally intelligent. You're not getting those promotions. You're not getting ahead in life. So it's those patterns you absolutely have to break, but you sometimes need that coach, that guide, that psychologist, that person to help break those patterns so that you can become self-aware and emotionally intelligent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, for some people, life is about, getting the money and getting the credits and the nice CV, right? And that's true, and it's important. I will never say that it's not important. It's important. We are human beings. We have bills to pay, right? We live in real life, so that's
right.
But to that, I want to say that this reduce your risk of emotional intelligence, reduce your risk of depression, reduce your risk of anxiety, your risk of burnout and suicide probably also. So there's a benefit also for your health. So it's not magically that you get more money or you have more opportunities, but you have to connect this with the fact that if you are healthier, emotionally and physically healthier, you will be able to perform better. So there is a connection between success, the way that you want to describe it. For some is money, for some is well-being, right? There are many ways to describe success depending of the individual. But clearly, if you are not emotionally and physically stable, or right, there is no way that you will achieve that. Your body will not allow you to do it. Your mind will not allow you to do it. And we need to start taking care of ourselves. We have been burning out ourselves, thinking that working harder, removing boundaries, saying yes to everything will take us there. And there is one book from Davida Ginter. Actually, she talks about burnout, and it's clear. And her title, I don't want to mess up her title, but her title refers to that exactly in her book. It's like, no, burnout will not take you there, right? It doesn't in any way.
That's so true. So, again, that's another cycle. Burnout. Again, you get used to these patterns, right?
Yeah, burnout is a very bad one. And I try to be very careful when I talk about burnout, especially for healthcare workers, because right now burnout is very controversial. Since burnout has been connected to abuse from the companies, corporations, etc., leaders, and has this idea that burnout may be my fault, right? Which is not our fault. It's not your fault to be burnout. Let's clarify. You didn't do anything wrong, right? If the environment is toxic and your leaders are toxic and you don't have the support that you are supposed to have, so this is not your fault. The system needs to improve. Some people is using, instead of the word burnout, they want to call it moral injury. Words that were used or are used more in the military life, right? Where the consequences of being treated without appropriate respect and appropriate support take you to this thing that we call burnout. So I want to be very careful to reinforce burnout is not our fault. If it happens to us, it's not our fault. However, that doesn't mean that we cannot do something about it. And again, I want to remove the victim part, right? Because you being self-aware and setting boundaries, I will not say that you will be changing the system or you will make your boss to be nicer or your salary to be fair, right? That will not happen. But at least you will be able to identify when you are not okay, how much you can push, when to stop, and when to ask for help. Yes. So you surround yourself of some kind of protection, so you don't collapse and you don't get to the point of hurting yourself.
Absolutely. Starts with self-awareness and putting up those boundaries, identifying them, and then reinforcing them and making sure that we don't tear our own boundaries down. I think that happens a lot. But
Yeah.
I think this was awesome. I think a lot of people need to hear this message. And I hope everybody reading this newsletter and watching this interview also looks into your book, because emotional intelligence, that's kind of where it starts for almost anything. If we want to break patterns in life, if we want to go to the next level of success, if we want to learn how to learn from failure instead of taking it as some kind of life sentence, I think it all starts with that EQ, developing that emotional intelligence, and then breaking those patterns over time. But I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Z, for the
Thank you
interview
so much.
today. And I will make sure to put all your links as well in the article. But reach out to Dr. Z, check out her book. And, she's on LinkedIn, follow her. She's a really good person to follow. She's a great leader. And thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate it, Dr. Z.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I want to send a message of a positive beginning for the 2023. Empower yourself, take care of yourself, take care of those that are around you, offer your help, offer your love and kindness. You may not know, but a nice word, a hug, a smile could really save lives. So be part of the change, the positive change. You have the power, you can be impactful. Doesn't matter your title, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your color of your skin, or where you come, or if you have an accent. Each of us, we have the power to impact the life of others and our own life. So go for it.
Absolutely. Impact can be small, but the ripple effects are very large and can be felt all over the world. That's pretty
That's right.
powerful. Thank you so much, Dr. Z. We will be in touch.